Kingsley. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. Sorry, everybody. I wanted to say, my bad. Hi, everybody. David, David Kingsley and Summer. Welcome back to another episode of VCTV, which is the Venture Capital TV. So I was trying to focus on something else, so just something else came out of my mouth, but that just happens. It's a live show. Here we are on another episode of VCTV to discuss about FinTech and payments and the blockchain technology as well, and the use cases of cryptocurrency in payments in particular. So yeah, before we jump into the show and start talking to the speakers of the panel today, let me just introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of La Token. La Token hosts VCTV. So I host VCTV basically every day, Monday to Friday, as Summer Kingsley already know. So they've spoken on my panels before, and this is the first time David is joining me. So we're gonna have fun discussing the topic about fintech and payments. So I get some pops up, like, I see a lot of things popping up on my screen. So that sort of keeps me a little distracted. So yeah. So, okay, it's fair to say a little bit of context before I'm going to start introducing my speakers of the panel today. It's fair to say that 2020 has been among the most consequential years ever for the fintech, the financial technology industry. So thanks in no small part to a deadly pandemic that we've seen that swept across much of the world, consumers, households, and businesses alike have all had to depend on the digital world a whole lot more than any time previously, of course, as we know. So the demand for the fintech solutions has never been more intense. And that makes 2021, this year, a crucial year for evolution of this flourishing industry. So I'm going to talk about fintech, touching base on crypto payment. So let's start with some introduction of our speakers today of the panel. I'm going to start with Summer from Trade Dog. Hi, Summer. Welcome back. How are you today?
Hello, Zoni. How are you? I'm great. So, hello, everyone. So my name is Samarveer, and I represent Trade Dog, working there as an investment analyst from past 1 year. Now, about Trade Dog is basically a research and advisory company. It specializes in providing institutional-grade analytic and investment reports for the retail community. And recently, we have also partnered with Hotbit Exchange as their official research partner. And we also have our partner fund, in fact, O1X Capital. Now, O1X Capital is an investment fund, or we can say a family office based in Dubai. And we invest heavily in early to growth stage ventures, and we are more inclined in the blockchain and crypto space. And from last 2 years, I think we has been aggressively investing in the fintech space. One of our sister company, which is based in India, has been also very active in the AI and deep tech space, right? And basically, other than this, one of our partner company, which is TDFi, it is an startup accelerator program specifically designed for DeFi and NFT ventures. So in our previous 2 cohorts, we have incubated almost 9 projects till now, and that's pretty much about it. And looking forward for this discussion with my wonderful panelists.
Awesome, Summer. And again, I think this is the second panel with on VCTV. And
right,
yes,
right.
Welcome back. And yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, you have multiple hats in terms of the kind of companies you have. So yeah, welcome back. A lot to hear. NFT is very interesting as well. It's very new space and a lot of buzz. So I'd like to know more about it as well.
Sure.
So next, thank you so much for that intro. So David, are we all set for some introduction, please? You're on mute, David.
Thank you, Sunny. Appreciate it.
Welcome to my show, my Asia VCTV episode. So please help our viewers to know a bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So unlike many in the space, I do not come from a crypto background. I come from an investment management background. I have been managing hedge funds for the last 12 years. ProChain was started about 3 years ago. My partners are very crypto heavy people. They've been involved in mining operations and other startups in the space. Our fund, again, now 3 years old, has, thankfully to the sector, has a very good track record, is focused on a couple of areas. First and largest is the investment on a long biased basis in larger tokens, the likes of which everybody here will know: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Monero, Zcash, so on. And then we have a systematic trading portion of the portfolio as well, which helps bring down the volatility in the asset class, and has contributed very well to the alpha that we're generating. The third piece of the portfolio, which I think is very relevant to today's discussion, is we invest in public equities, companies that are publicly traded, that are involved in the fintech space, in the payment space, such as PayPal, Square, Visa, MasterCard, BNY Mellon. I mean, we could talk, and we will, about all of the players getting involved that are established in the payments world. And then finally, a small portion of our portfolio is dedicated to venture capital type of investments, early stage private investments. The point of the fund generally is to have a very healthy allocation to the entire ecosystem. And since we don't know which form of participation or of ownership interest is going to be the one that succeeds the most because of the varying types of players, large, small, startup, and so on, we look to have allocations across the entire sector.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much, David.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to hear a lot of insights from you on this space today. Excellent. Last but not least, Kingsley, welcome back, and always nice to have you on our panels. Please help introduce yourself to our fellow panelists. Kingsley, you are on mute.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, that was a technical error. It happens sometimes. I was trying to unmute myself. Sonny, good evening. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
I like the red touch. It makes you very spectacular. And it's good to be back here. My name is Kingsley Kobayashi. I'm a serial entrepreneur, investor, chairman of Kobayashi Group. We are into blockchain projects, digital payment system, healthcare, pharmaceutical, just name it. We invest in a lot of startups, and I'm looking forward to actually discussing this blockchain fintech, which is my area of specialization with everyone here today.
Awesome, fantastic.
I think I've been here too long. People already know who I am, so I don't want to go into too much details anymore.
I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you. We're all set with the introductions of our speakers for the panel today. So let's start with a very broad question for the topic that we're going to discuss. So what's the impact of the pandemic, the COVID-19, on digital payment opportunities? What opportunities and challenges we've seen so far through 2020 till 2021? So Samar, it's a broad question. We're going to drill down as we go.
So basically, when the pandemic hits in the March 2020, right? I mean, the way banks have been printing money out of just the thin air, right? I mean, it just pushed the traditional, or what I can say, the institutional investors push into the blockchain ecosystem, right? Because the DeFi applications or protocols in the blockchain space has been giving exponential returns, right? So what can I say right now is, I mean, every traditional company, if you see from Morgan Stanley to Tesla, I mean, if we see the today's news, right? I mean, Tesla just announced they are accepting Bitcoin as their payment, right? So that is what we can say about the adoption of the crypto ecosystem in the traditional, right? I mean, Morgan Stanley has been jumping in various aspects to enter into the crypto ecosystem. Just now, they are trying to buy a stake in Korean exchange Bithumb for a 440 million, right? So that shows, I mean, the what can I say, the greed or the demand of from the traditional investors to enter into the crypto blockchain ecosystem, right?
Oh, okay. That's something new for me. Sorry, can you repeat that again? So JP Morgan is trying to invest into a Korean exchange, a crypto
Yeah,
exchange.
yeah. So basically, it is one of the largest Korean crypto exchange. The
Okay.
name is BitThumb. So they are trying to buy a stake for 440 million, so they can serve the Asian community, or what can I say? I mean the Korean community. So yeah, I mean 2021 has been exponential in terms of many aspects, right? The recent NFT mania which is going right now, I mean every celebrity is rushing into to monetize this opportunity, right? Then we have the DeFi protocols which are, I mean, just showing a different every day, unique use cases emerging, right? So I mean there is demand from the traditional investors, and it is going to expand in a few years a lot. Yeah.
Wow, perfect. What opening remarks that was. Thank you so much for that. Good to know about some news as well besides that. So David, over to you again. The broad question, I'm going to go drill down into more details. Impact of the pandemic on digital payment and what opportunities and challenges you've seen so far.
Thank you, Sunny. So let me back up just for a second and say that, a broad theme.
Can you put yourself on mute? My apology. Can you? Thank you.
A broad theme, in our fund is the fact that we have seen, I'd say, over the last 2 decades, the massive digitization of services.
Right.
So the services that human beings once provided have been digitized in many different ways. Interestingly, though, the digitization of assets, which you'd think rationally would come before the digitization of services, because it's much simpler to go ahead and digitize an asset. It's not moving, it's not functioning, it's not doing something different in every case. It's static in a lot of ways, has not happened. And that's what's happening right now. We're getting digitization of assets, including value. And so with respect to the digitization of payments, the pandemic had a massive catalyst because everybody could not be out physically. There needed to be an enormous amount of spending and transfer of value that happened electronically. And so we've seen a huge push just out of absolute straight demand and need to make this timeline go faster. And then I will say in the wake of that, so we're talking about the likes of, lots of financial institutions, lots of startups. But I would say the next wave of that could be as exciting, which is, at least in the United States and probably most first world countries, there has been an enormous amount of savings that has gone on over the past 12 months. Governments have tried to go ahead and excite their economies by providing stimulus, but there's certainly been a lot of wealth hoarding that has happened. As economies go ahead and pick up and open up again, I think we are going to see a major boost in spending, not only from individuals, from businesses as well. And so therefore, we're probably going to see all of the infrastructure that's been built, set up over the last 12 months, and will continue to be set up, get flooded with activity. And I think that will only continue to snowball the effect of the digitization of money, of value, of assets, and so forth.
Great points, David. Thank you so much for sharing that. And obviously, touching base on government, I wanted to come to that topic later in details. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that in details as well. Thank you so much for those opening remarks. Kingsley, over to you, please, now.
Yeah, Sonny, you know very well that the pandemic is the principal factor that have digitalized everything we do. Up to now, people have been trying to use digital system, but the pandemic has catapulted it to a different level. We've come to see different payment system in developed countries and developing countries. Me living in Japan, it's more or less a cashless society. That you have a card for almost everything that you buy. You don't need, my son don't need to carry cash around with him. He can pay with his phone. He can pay with Zelco or Suica card, even for the train or bus. So we more or less live in a cashless society. But what we are seeing is that we see developing countries and other developed countries that didn't have that system before embracing it. The problem they mostly have in developing countries is the infrastructure, but they are overcoming that problem right now by collaborating with people outside those developing countries, like Silicon Valley, Japan, America. Japan being one of the first countries that actually embraced cryptocurrency, set up rules and regulation for cryptocurrency. So we're one of the early investors into fintech and blockchain locally, and that has paid off seriously for us. It's keeping up seriously, and I see a continent or a world coming together by digital payment system, by digital, like you said, assets and things like that. Why? Because I don't see my grandchildren using fiat currency, because the easiest way to transfer disease is through fiat currency. You sneeze, you touch the money, you give it to the other person, the person has the virus. So a lot of countries are beginning to understand this. Like the first case of coronavirus we had in Japan was through a taxi driver, because he paid the driver and they exchanged money and then he got it. And then he went to a party and that is it, minus the diamond princess that came, right? So a lot of countries are now embracing. We have China trying to say, okay, we want digital yuan. We have the foreign minister of Japan say, okay, try and figure out digital yen. So I think a lot of countries are going to go digital very soon, and the platforms are already there and they are growing every day. We just have to embrace it.
Yes, absolutely. I think totally agree with the cab story and also digitalization of the national currency. Thank you so much, Kingsley. Okay, talking about payments. So we can't just keep away the cross-border payment away from when you're talking about payments on a panel. So what do you think instant 24/7 cross-border payments? What will it take for this to become a reality? So Samar?
Yeah. So about the payments, I mean, the fintech space has been growing exponentially in the blockchain sector. We have seen it from the last 8 to 12 months. I mean, every big investor is rushing in. I mean, if we see the 2021 has been an explosive for the blockchain community, right? Trillions of dollars have been flooding the market, and we are witnessing massive influx of funds in the crypto sphere, be it, I mean, crypto assets, NFTs, stable coins, or derivatives, right? I mean, the demand for the DeFi and the other protocols have pushed the stablecoins demand. For example, if we are talking about the payments, right? I mean, USDT, which is the one of the leading stablecoins in the market right now, has increased their supply from 20 billion in December to 40 billion in March. I mean, they just double their whole. I mean, what can I say? They just double their whole supply in the span of just 3 months. All this is due to the DeFi protocols, which are gaining a huge momentum in terms of unique active wallets, the transaction volume which is flooding, right? So yeah, I mean, this market, this crypto cycle which is going on right now, it can stay for a while. I mean, the way the traditional market is going with it. I mean, due to the massive devaluation of the centralized currencies, like if you see the stimulus checks of right now, I mean, they just announced stimulus checks of, I mean, 2 trillion, right? The previously they also announced some I mean, the same thing. So yeah, I mean, due to this, the main thing which is happening is the traditional assets, right? The savings account, or what can I say, the the traditional saving instruments, so they are not able to deliver that much returns which they were able to give the investors 5 years back, right? So I mean, yes, so this demand is going to increase further as well.
So yeah, so that's the demand about crypto asset classes. That's understood. DeFi, NFTs. So David, what about instantaneous 24/7 cross-border payments? That's a pain point of many people. So what will
I
it
think?
Yeah.
I think it's going to take, first of all, the push from both big and small players, which is happening. I mean, people recognize, businesses recognize the possibility for massive market share steal or obtaining massive market share by being able to offer that service. It's something that's really important and currently A, slow, B, expensive. So
Yeah.
using electronic means to go ahead and cut that down is incredible. And lots of people are working on it, big and small. Um, what will happen as a result of the innovation coming from big and small players is going to be the need for regulatory cohesion.
Yeah.
That's really the hangup, right? Our regulators are very concerned, certainly about security.
Yeah.
Also about making sure that each jurisdiction gets its money in the form of taxes.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, they want to be able to, in some ways, have transparency and some control of the system entirely. And look, I think the innovation, to Samir's, point, the innovation is coming fast and furious. And I think the regulators generally recognize it. I don't think that there is massive pushback, even in the United States, where we have some, I would say, older regulators that are a bit more concerned about things that I think myths that have been debunked about, using digital payments for nefarious and criminal activities. I think the overwhelming majority of people in the sector know that the overwhelming majority of activity is not criminal.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, there is a need and there is a reason, justifiably, to go ahead and support a further, development of the digital payment system, certainly the 24/7 international aspect of it. And so I
Yeah.
think regulators are on board. There obviously needs to be cooperation amongst regulators, which is difficult. But to Kingsley's point earlier, if the developed world doesn't get on top of this quickly, the developing world is just going to take over. I mean, it's not like you need a ton of money to do this anymore, right? It's all about programming and code and a blockchain technology that already exists. So
Right.
the developing world will simply do it without the developed world, and then the developed world will have no choice but to follow the developing world. So I think the pressure is on all around it. I think that that's great. That's great for everybody. That's great for the innovators. It's great for the consumers. This will get done quickly.
Fantastic. Great points there. Great points. Thank you so much, David. Kingsley, so the developing world is going to take over the developed world, David said, touching base on your point, but talking about the 24/7 instantaneous cross-border payments. So what will it take for this to become a reality?
Yeah, I agree with David. The initial fear of the banking sector was that fintech was here to take over what they do. Blockchain and fintech are here to take over what they do. But I think they are beginning to realize that blockchain and fintech are here to support what they do, to make it faster. And I am very happy that, for example, in Japan, few banks are already using Ripple to make their transaction faster, cross-border transaction faster. So instead of
Right.
3 days, 4 days, 1 week, it takes a few hours, and they are seeing the good in that. So that was the point I was actually always pushing for. How do traditional finance and digital finance collaborate? We don't have to fight each other. We need to collaborate because we still need the banks.
Yeah.
We need regulations. You know what I mean? That is why I am very happy with Japan. Japan was one of those that first embraced it and gave regulations, because where there are regulations, you actually protect your citizens, right? So when it comes to cross-border transactions, okay, they're going to tell you, okay, you're going to use it for nefarious activities. But in any blockchain system, there is already KYC, AML built into it, right? So if that currency have been around for hundreds of years, and yet they still use it for crimes. So you cannot say that we in the fintech space or the blockchain space are bringing new crime. No, There will always be bad people. There will always be good people. So let's look at the good side of blockchain. What is blockchain trying to do? What is fintech trying to do? It's trying to cost. It's trying to make sure that transactions are faster. But at the same time, let us collaborate with the banks, which Ripple is already doing with a few banks in Japan. I don't want to mention names. I don't want to promote them. And they are seeing the result that it is faster, it is more secure, it is transparent. That is what blockchains are all about: transparency, security, immutability, and things like that. And that is what it is happening. So those people in developed countries that want to send money back to developing countries, to their loved ones. Let's talk about like those the refugees, for example. They don't have what it takes to probably legally send money to their people. But with blockchain and fintech payment system, they can do that. Secondly, look at the COVID-19 pandemic. What happened in crowded banks? Banks are too crowded. So when you use blockchain, you cut off that crowd from the bank, because you are not using a payment system. You use your app from your home and say, okay, I want this money transferred to some person in America. Now, what is left there is there's a trace. This is what people that don't understand blockchain forget to know, that there's always a trace from A to B. Is transparent. That Mr. Yeah. that Kingsley sent money to David and David received the money. Yeah. So they can actually trace that money. So I think the blockchain system is more secured than what we have right now. So in transacting international businesses and things like that. And I look forward to more collaboration. I look for more policy, more regulations, because if it is not regulated, it's just a Wild West. So we need regulations in every country, and every country need to collaborate with each other to make sure that, like David actually said, they are getting their own taxes, they are getting their own dividends, so that we all gain from it.
Fantastic. Everybody's talking about regulation.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to add one point. I mean, what David and Kingsley said. I mean, one point to note here is that the regulatory and compliance bodies has been pushing the ecosystem, right? The way, I mean, they were treating the cryptosphere in the 2017 bull rally. It is not happening right now. They have now understand the value of decentralization and the overall blockchain industry, right? Now, if we also see the compliance and regulatory part, right? Now, Canada first released their BTC ETF through the purpose, right? Then after that, if more and more Bitcoin ETFs are coming in the way, right? Now we have Evolve BTC ETF, and also in the US, One Act Bitcoin ETF is also coming, which is one of the global fund manager and has billions of dollars in the under their management. So yeah, I mean, the regulatory and compliance bodies are not pushing the crypto ecosystem right now the way they have been pushing in the 2017 times or 2018 times. So yeah, it is a positive step, and I totally agree with both of you guys.
Yeah, so I wanted to come to that topic on regulations a little bit later. So Samar, still I've got a question for you. So we spoke about cross-border payments. So what are the use cases of cryptocurrencies? So how are they set to transform the world of payments in general? And what role must the central banks, is very crucial point, a very crucial role they have to take, contribute to this play?
Right. So now if we see the total digital payment segment, the total digital payment segment is expected to be 5 trillion by 2022, right? Among which crypto payments could represent 2 to 4%, which is approximately 100 to 200 billion dollars, right? So there is massive demand which is coming right away in the markets, right, for the blockchain ecosystem. And also the regulatory and compliance part, we talk about that now. Regulations are always very important for the retail investors to enter into a initial market or in initial sector, right? But now more and more countries are planning to make their regulations and compliance for the crypto projects more easy, more comfortable, right? Now we see the example of Dubai. Dubai is now planning to implement a couple of laws which is pushing the blockchain ecosystem. Right now, if we see the USA, now there are 2 states like Kentucky and Wyoming and Miami. They are equally competing with each other to make the hub of the crypto ecosystem in the US. Right now, the Kentucky has given subsidies to miners, I mean, so that it can be a mining hub other than the Texas, right? So I mean, more and more countries are pushing the crypto ecosystem and blockchain industry. And yeah, it is the demand that is pushing the, I mean, what can I say, the regulatory and compliance bodies.
So what role do the central banks in India play?
If we talk about India, I mean, India is going some other way right now. I mean, they have recently announced a news. I mean, which in which they will. I mean, what can I say? They will check and they will block the IP addresses of the exchanges, right? The off-ramp and on-ramp solution providers in India will be targeted by the government, and that will be implemented by blocking their IP addresses, right? So yeah, in India, I mean, also India is planning to launch their own basically digital currency, which is a similar kind of INR, digital version of INR. So yeah, I mean, in India it is going a little bit slow, but in other nations it is going on a very positive note.
Even I
Yeah,
saw that news of blocking the IP. I mean, there's so many
yeah,
exchanges in India, so who
yeah,
knows
it
what's
is massive. Yeah.
okay. David, thank you, Samar. Coming over to you, what are how cryptocurrencies, the use case of cryptocurrencies in the world of payments, how it's going to transform the world of payments, and again, central bank role in this.
Okay, so let me start with the second question first, and then get to the first
Sure.
question, which I think is broader. The first question regarding CBDC, or central bank digital currency, I think needs to be analyzed from a practical regulatory perspective first and foremost. So we've seen a couple of laws or bills here in the United States that have been drafted from both houses of Congress regarding CBDCs. They're very elementary. They don't have an enormous amount of detail. It's really all about whether there'll be an intermediary between the CBDC issuing central bank and actual, banks or lenders that lend to retail customers. And I think it's a long way off. And the best analogy, or the best kind of comparative case I will give you, is the United States still doesn't have a Bitcoin ETF. Granted, we're talking about two very different regulatory functions. We're talking about a securities function versus a monetary function. But at the end of the day, I think at this point, most people in the United States that focus on Bitcoin think that the U.S. has no choice but to catch up to a few other developed countries, Canada, Switzerland, that have already approved of and started trading Bitcoin ETFs. Forget about any other cryptocurrency ETF, right? We're talking about Bitcoin, the largest, the most well-known, and probably in terms of, functionality, the most basic, as just a store of value, although it's being used for payments now. And we could talk about, how Bitcoin transformed into a payment currency.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think it's going to be, people will talk about CBDC, but I don't know how quickly it's going to come in the United States. I think, again, like the Bitcoin ETF world, we're going to play catch up.
Right.
And other places are already, not only experimenting with it, but really have conviction to go out there and get this done. So that's where I think the CBDC world is. And frankly, there is good reason to think that the United States really won't get there for a long period of time. I mean, we have such an established kind of central banking system,
Yeah.
that is built on so many, very fundamental principles that work so very well, that I think all of the regulatory functions around security, around transparency, around taxing, and so on, I don't know how quickly they're all going to get on board with a central bank digital currency in the United States. Now, to your first point, I'm sorry if this is too long of an answer. You can feel free to cut me off anytime.
It's okay. No worries, David. Please carry on.
In terms of use cases, so let me go ahead and go back to the point that I made around Bitcoin being used as a payment. I don't think anybody in the crypto world, if you would have asked people 6 months or more ago, thought that Bitcoin was going to be a real, payment use case. And now it has become that, because of its size, because of its, ease of use, and its adoption. And so now you have so many financial institutions, digital and otherwise, that have gravitated towards Bitcoin to be used as a form of payment, whether it be Visa or MasterCard or Bank of New York Mellon, or PayPal or Square. We're just going to, to some of our viewers' point earlier, Tesla, there is just a lot of, activity going on. Could that change? Could it shift to another currency? It sure could. But the longer Bitcoin stays the currency of choice, and more resources are put into it, the more likely it's going to have, staying power. And then with respect to, other tokens being used in terms of, the DeFi functionality, certainly that has a long way to go. I mean, if we're still earlier days for Bitcoin adoption, I think the more complex functionality of cryptocurrencies or, blockchain representative tokens really has a much longer tail. And frankly, that leads to the conclusion that, there is still a ton of value, a ton of money to be made in the sector.
Absolutely, David. Thanks very much. Thank you very much for sharing those deep insights with our audience today. Kingsley, would you like to add anything to what just David said?
Yeah, well, he almost covered everything, so I will just add a little bit to it. And what is really important is using the tokens in the ecosystem. As once we start seeing transactions happening every day, using Bitcoin, using Ethereum, using Ripple, using whatever token you have, then it has actually become a kind of currency. Until recently, in Japan, about a year and a half ago, big camera, one of the big electrical companies started using Bitcoin. Then we have workshops that accept Bitcoin. So this is a move in the right direction, because most people right now are just holding Bitcoin. They hold it and they want it to grow. This is not the aim of any currency. The aim of any currency is to use it to buy and sell, to transact, to do something. So until we actually start doing something or start buying and selling with these tokens, it has no value. It's just like keeping, okay, I'm going to keep this here. It's going to become $100,000. It's going to become $200,000. That is not the value that we are looking for. We are looking for a value where everybody is able to use it. But Bitcoin and ERC20 or Ethereum or any other, Bitcoin will always be the central bank of cryptocurrency. Just like when you talk of fiat currency, it's either American dollar or pound. It's very simple. If you want to travel to any country in the world, you either change your money to in fact, dollar is the easiest to use anywhere in the world. You change your money to a dollar and you go to that country, you change it to the country's currency and you use it. So I see Bitcoin being that currency, right? And I see maybe probably Ethereum or one other becoming like the pound or something else. Now, what gives power to the American dollar or the pound is because they are pegged to go to crude oil, to this, and protected by the military or by the country. So who is protecting Bitcoin? Who is protecting Ethereum? So the only way we can make this work is to collaborate with the government to make regulations that will help us to use these tokens in a simple, easy way. Can a 5-year-old go to the shop and say, okay, I want to pay with a Bitcoin? Or an old lady doesn't know how to use the Bitcoin wallet to pay. So we have to come up with a system that is easy for people to use. Because if we don't use it and we're just holding it, how long are we going to hold it? It's going to become 1 million per Bitcoin. Yes, maybe $1 million per Bitcoin, maybe yes. But if we don't use it, it has no no traction. So we need that traction to happen. We need that use case to start happening right away, and we need regulations to make that happen, whether it's inter-country or within a particular ecosystem. And once we have that, we are on the move.
I think this is a very good point. We have a topic to discuss as well. Is Bitcoin the digital gold, store of value, or the means of payment? But I think, Kingsley, to your point, that is a point. I would say I would agree. That should be a utility. Great. So talking about payments again, I'm coming back to payments again. So creating, like, especially in this era today, the digital cashless payment, creating seamless payments in the age of inconvenience, the potential of digital identities. You can't just take that topic out from payments today. So what does the introduction of digital IDs mean for KYC in payments? How important that is? Sorry, Samar, I'm going to start with you with this question.
So yeah, I mean, digital identities, I mean, there is also already an option for KYC and AML in most of the DeFi protocols right now. Some of have these issues, but yeah, obviously if on a distributed ledger, on a public distributed ledger, if every unique person has its own unique identity, that will obviously going to benefit, right? So yeah, I mean, it is a good step forward for the payment gateways and the transactions. Yeah. Just like this same case in India, we have also established, government has established a phenomenon called UPI payment system. So it's something like that, and I think it will probably give another push to the community.
Right. Great. So David, digital IDs and digital wallets, how will this enhance the mobile payments experience? And again, what does digital IDs mean for KYC in payments? I think you have, so Samar is right to the point, and David obviously elaborates things. So I'm going to ask two questions into one to David, for David.
So I think, first of all, identification is a scary thing. I'm a citizen of the United States, where there is a considerable amount of freedom. There are First Amendment rights around, things like speech and privacy and so forth. And people here, take that quite seriously.
Right.
And to go to something totally, I'd say something that was mentioned but not focused on, the digitization of identity through NFTs is something that is very much being focused on in the technology community and building that out. The question is once you have that, what do you do with that? Who has access to that? Right? We had a massive breach here in the United States by one of the three largest credit reporting companies, right? Which essentially, Experian, which essentially houses everything about a credit history of an individual from the beginning of time or birth until the present day. And that was absolutely frightening, right? Because, you don't know where it's going to go, who it's going to get to. And there are certain things that, frankly, not for nefarious reasons or not because, you're committing a crime or doing something wrong. It's just you want to keep those things private and you have a right to do that. So that's a general point. I think this is going to develop into a very thorny issue. And maybe we end up with two kind of identities or two options, which is A, I can go ahead and share my identity for purposes of payment on certain platforms that require it, right? On the other hand, there are certain platforms that will not require it, and it will allow me to remain anonymous. And I think that it would be silly for regulators to not allow both to exist. They have to, because there is no way that they will get full buy-in on the full transparency part of it. Is impossible. They will be forcing a big part of the world, A, anybody that thinks they're doing something wrong, and B, someone who just doesn't want to be known that well, by the public or by government entities and wants to remain private, from not getting involved in that development. So I think, I don't know how exactly it's going to work out, and I don't know if it's going to be a black and white issue in terms of there are certain platforms yes, certain platforms no, or there's going to be some, you know, hybrids. But I think it's not a simple issue, and I don't think it's something that is going to be solved, you know, particularly quickly. I think it's going to remain a question out there. It's going to be debated for a really long time, and I don't know if we're going to get to resolution, at least in the United States. Other countries which are very authoritarian, they may very well do it very quickly.
Right. So thank you, David, so much. Talking about other countries, Kingsley, what do we see in other countries, if you can share, in terms of digital?
I do agree with David. It's we all have a choice to share what we want to share. We should have a choice to, except we are in a controlled society. But fortunately and unfortunately, I'm in a country where everybody obeys. Right? I live in Japan, where is everybody. If the government says this, we all say yes. We all obey, which is good and bad, right? But the truth is, we are not talking about public data and private data, right? So who controls the data? If the data is like voting, for example, if you vote, it's public blockchain, right? But you have your own privacy that nobody will know who you vote for.
Yeah.
So I do believe that blockchain can create a system that allows you to only let people, those you want to know your identity, to know your identity. If that can be created as, okay, Mr. Kingsley and Mr. David want to vote for this person, and Sam we don't know. So at the same time, we can also have a system that says, okay, I want this platform, like he said, to know my identity. I don't want this platform to know my identity. And when you talk of identity data, we are talking about using one ID to be able to travel around the world. Because if it's based on blockchain, I probably don't need a passport to go to America. Whereas right now, I need a passport to go to America. So what happens if you use one ID to do everything together? Which means everybody knows who you are. Everybody, there is no secrecy about you. It's transparent. But is this okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Is this for everybody? There are people who want to live a private life. You understand? It's like having your own medical data. Okay, are you going to share your medical data with every doctor or your own doctor? So payment system is the same. So we should have the right to say, okay, I want to share my identity with let's say US Central Bank or the bank in America, and not Mitsubishi Bank in Japan. Or I want to share this with the Singapore Bank and not this bank, depending on your belief in the system in that country. Do I believe that if my identity is with a developing country somewhere that has security, that it will not be hacked into by people? It's all about security. You know, like we have large credit card companies being hacked almost on a daily basis. So what will happen if your identity is hacked in a less developed country that doesn't even have, let's say, the power, the energy to back it up? So there's a lot of things to look into. So it will take time. Blockchain is still a baby anyway. Blockchain is very young. So we have enough time in our generation and the next generation to build on it and make sure that all these mistakes or all these points we are bringing out today are rectified in future. Hopefully in the nearest future.
All right, great points there. Talking about security, what infrastructure, surrounding infrastructure, needs to be in place to make the digital IDs work in payments? Maybe David, can we go with you first?
You can, but I'm not going to have the answer to this. I am not. This is not my area of expertise. The technology itself,
Okay.
You know, it really isn't. Like Kingsley said, it's about security. I'm in the business of investing in the smart people that develop that security protocol.
Right.
I am not in the business of, in fact, building that security protocol. So when I find it, I'll be sure to come back and let you know the name of the company, the name of the people. But no, I unfortunately, I don't have a good answer. But I do have to say, Sonny, forgive me. I need to exit. I must go to another pre-scheduled meeting.
All
I
right.
apologize, but I thank everybody on the panel.
All right.
And please, I'm sure it'll be a lot better panel as soon as I leave. So I thank you very much for all of your indulgence of my comments, and I hope to get back with you soon on another one of your panels.
Sure, David. Before you go, can you tell our audience where can they find you?
Yeah, of course. So I'm David Towell from ProChain Capital, and my email address is the best place to reach me. It's david@procaincap.com. It's david@procaincap.com, and you can follow us on Twitter, and you can find me on LinkedIn. I think like everybody else, I'm pretty well found out, throughout the web.
Fantastic, David. And definitely I'm going to have you back on another panel, which is solely focused on investments only.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm sorry,
David.
Forgive me.
Thank you for your insights. You are going to be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Kingsley. Thank you, Samavir.
Thank
nice
you,
to meet you, David.
All right. So now we have Kingsley and Samar. Anybody would like to talk about the security aspect, which Kingsley just brought up? Because security, digital identity is very key to a payment infrastructure.
So just to add on the anonymous transactions and anonymity of the identities, right? Yeah, it is a crucial point. And just for an example, I mean digital yuan, right? The currency of China, which they are planning to release in next quarter or the third quarter. So that currency, that digitalized version, is also not totally anonymous, right? I mean, they will be capturing all the data of all the personal identities of the Chinese citizens. So yeah, I mean, to add to the David's point, so yeah, I mean, the developing countries or the underdeveloped countries will have, I mean, it will be more easy to by the government to implement that jurisdictions, right? But in the first world countries or in the developed countries, I mean, the identity part or the security part of the personal identities will be more what can I say, more difficult for the governments to implement. But it can be a collaboration between the government and the community. So just to find out a way. So I mean, for the growth of the whole ecosystem.
So, Samar, do we know who is leading this way with the digital identities? And
yeah, so right now I don't have any particular idea about any particular project. Yeah, but I think there are a couple of projects that are working on this field.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Kingsley, would you like to share something about the infrastructure that needs to be in the place to make the digital IDs work from a security perspective?
Yeah, well, you know, I am an investor and I have structured businesses. The only way to secure, I think, the only way to secure identity will have to be to collaborate with the government. Leaving everything in the hands of the private sector, you have the possibility of the back door being opened and people getting into it for one reason or the other. As we all know, the public blockchain is more secure than the private blockchain, if I'm correct there. So the public blockchain should be used to secure the identity of the citizens of the country. I mean, we are talking about a country here. We're not talking about individuals right now. So the country should have the ability to control its people's identity. And then you have private sectors that they trust can go into it. Recently, we had a small problem in Japan where a company called Line that is used by most people, there was a third party which was in China that could get into it, and it became a very big problem. So it's going to happen in every digital payment system or ID system that we have. But I believe there are companies right now trying their best, doing their best to make sure that we are secured when we use it. The truth is, It also happened with banks. Banks is not that secured. The credit card companies we use are not that secured. From time to time, our information still get out there. How, we don't know. Though the government is in charge of it partially, but we also have the private sector in charge of it partially. So who leaks this information? So we are still going to be facing the problems that we are facing right now with traditional finance. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's something that we have to accept and just follow the regulations and make sure that we do our due diligence before we put our money or use a particular platform that is doing identity.
I think, yeah, very good points, Kingsley. Government's involvement is very key. Regulators' involvement is the key as well, as we all rightly noted down here. So that's about an infrastructure. Let's talk about technology. I mean, technology, obviously, as we know, is a key part to play. So how has artificial intelligence and machine learning, how are these technologies assisting to fight fraud in instant payments? Because, I think somewhere from an Indian context, I mean, fraud is a big issue, I guess. So how are the technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning coming into play?
So yeah, we have been part of many startups, right? Many crypto-based projects. So many of the platforms which are coming right now for the incubation are more inclined towards the AI and machine learning, be it for the smart contract routing, be it for the liquidity aggregation for their protocols, be it any use case. So yeah, I mean, the identity part is we haven't heard anything about right now, which is related to identity and the anonymous transactions. But yeah, I mean, the AI and machine learning part with collaboration of blockchain. So yeah, this is happening very fast at a very fast pace right now. So more and more projects that are coming. One project we have is Antonio Foundation, which is also using some smart contract auditing and liquidity aggregation. So yeah, I mean, the use cases of both these future spaces, that is deep tech, AI and machine learning, and also the blockchain. So they are right now, platforms are coming, so which are going hand on hand and has been utilizing this both these technologies.
Yeah, because the reason is when it comes to payments, especially cross-border, we're not talking about in-country, cross-border. I think these are very key. Digital identity, security, and fraud. AML KYC is obviously another aspect to the entire ecosystem if you take payments and fintech.
Yeah, about frauds, I mean, majority of the protocols or I'm talking about the DeFi protocols. Majority of the frauds which were happening in the previous or in this year also, that were not totally related with the identity part of the users, right? So many of these the rug pulls which were happening was due to the Oracle issues or the smart contract auditing issues. So we cannot totally say, I mean, the identity part is the only factor behind these frauds, right? So there are multiple factors that is happening right now as well. I know, I mean, the anonymous transaction and all these things, personal identities are important for every human being, right? But if you see the current scenario as well, I mean, every banking, every social media networking has been using your, what can I say, the personal details and every other data, banking data, they have there with us, them, right? So I mean, it is necessary, it is important, but right now we are not, I mean, we haven't seen any concrete project that has been able to solve this major issue.
Okay, thank you, Samar. Kingsley, talking about Nigerian startups, because you've worked with many startups in Nigeria and Africa. So how has this technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, in your opinion, has assisted to fight fraud in instant payments?
I think this question is more for Gary Fuller than me. You're making me mix Gary Fuller right now. Gary Fuller.
No, really, it's okay. If this question is not for you, let's just skip this question.
It's good. It's good. No, Gary Fuller is the artificial intelligence guy. So, and his partner is actually in Nigeria right now, trying to find ways to collaborate with the country to bring about security and creating startups that will help the next generation. So what I do think is that There are companies and there are tech companies that are using facial recognition. They are using biometrics. They are using what is called modus operandi, the way you do things. There's a particular way that Sonny does things every day, and there's a particular way that Kingsley and Sam does their own thing. So when you deviate from that pattern, they identify that this may not be you. So what they now do is call you as you the one making this purchase. And you can tell them, yes, it's me or it's not me. And they ask you a few questions about your background to know that you are actually the one using it. When it comes to facial recognition, that has become, even with your iPhone and everything, that is how what you use to open it right now. So facial recognition is there. Using your biometrics, hopefully they are able to work on DNAs to be able to secure your identity and make it happen. Nigeria has a lot of startups when it comes to payment system. And I'm really
Right.
I am actually very proud of that country, because you have a lot of young people who have no access to educating themselves in schools about it, and they go to Google, or they go to schools online, and they study and come up with projects, and then they collaborate with people in London, in America, and everywhere, and they come up with payment systems that are even better than those that we use in the so-called developed countries. So, I mean, they are growing, and the security is also growing. But unfortunately, we need the government there to make regulations to regulate, to protect the people. Regulations is not just to strangle those tech guys or people that are making the technology. It is to help the citizens. We must not forget this. The
Yeah.
protection of the citizens is the duty of the government. So if the government make regulations, you are protecting your investors when they put money into it, that there are consequences for those who will try to defraud them. So we have to look at it from that way. So that is why we need the regulations. That is why we need to embrace the regulations. That is why we need to set up infrastructure that will determine that it is Mr. A that is actually using that system and not Mr. B. And I think we're going to get there very soon with artificial intelligence and tech companies.
Great insights. Thank you, Samar, Kingsley, today. It was I think for me, it was a very engaging session and very informative as well. And thanks for your time in staying for 1 hour on this panel. Let's take some closing remarks. I think it's more than an hour. We started early.
That's
So
why you like StreamYard.
Sorry, beg your pardon?
I said that's why you like StreamYard. They don't cut you off.
Yeah. So, Samar, closing remarks before we wrap up.
So yeah, being in the heart of the right now DeFi, or what can I say, the blockchain ecosystem. So every day we are experiencing, or we are witnessing every day a unique use case emerging from the blockchain industry, right? And right now a lot of hype and lot of investments are flowing in the market right now, be it in the NFT segment, be in the stablecoin segment, or be it in any other blockchain segment, right? And the more and more economies and more countries are making plans and making implementing a lot of regulatory compliance that go hand in hand with the blockchain industry as well. So yeah, I think, but the major issue right now, which is blocking the mass adoption for the blockchain ecosystem, is right now the scalability, right? So right now we are facing a little bit of what can I say? The retailer investors are a little bit hesitant to enter in the blockchain market because due to the higher gas fees right now. But yeah, if we see the long-term analysis,
only apply to Ethereum, right? It's only Ethereum, right?
No. The gas fees part is also included in the blockchain Bitcoin part. If you transact on a Bitcoin as well, the average transaction fees which is going right now is approximately $10 to $15. Right now, if we take an example of the developing nations, so for the retailer community, right, so they feel quite hindrance for this. If some retailer is paying just what can I say, $10 to $15 for just one transaction. So that is a major issue, right? So that is not scalable, which is happening right now. But yeah, the third wave, the coming wave, or the next which is coming. So yeah, it has a lot of potential, and lot of growth is coming in the way. So yeah,
Okay,
that's
great.
it from my.
Thank you, Samar. Thank you for this insights, and thanks for participating today, representing Trade Doc. And
Thank you, Sonia.
Kingsley, over to you with your closing remarks.
Yeah, it's all about adaptation. We human beings, we are not used to change. We are very lazy beings. So we need to adapt to the current system that is happening. Fortunately, the COVID-19 has helped us to move faster with tech, have help us to move faster with blockchain and digital payment system. It is growing. We just have to embrace it. We are scared of it right now. Yes, it's like any new thing. So we just have to embrace it and make sure that we use it the way we can use it. Like I said, the gas is expensive, but I do believe it's still cheaper than the banks and things like that. We have to make it easier for people who are older, who are analog to use. That is the aim of digital payment system, the unbanked, people who have no bank accounts, or people who have no means of going to open an account, people who have no means of sending money legitimately or illegitimately from one country to the other. How do we make it cheaper? How do we make it transparent? How do we make it adaptable to everybody? I think those are the factors that we need to look at. I try as much as possible to break down what I say in simple language so that the common person can understand. Because by the time we speak all these, you know, blockchain language, a lot of people don't understand it. They get lost in translation. They get confused. So we should educate them to understand that the blockchain and payment system is here to help them, not to take away from them. And once they understand that, they will be able to start using it and make it a better place. Anyway, my name is Kingsley Kobayashi, and if you want to reach me at Kingsley Kobayashi. Oh, no, sorry. Reach me at kingsley.kingsleykobayashi.com, LinkedIn, Kingsley Kobayashi, Facebook, Instagram. I'm online, so just reach out.
Great. Thank you, Kingsley. And Samar, where can they reach you? They can reach you on VCTV and where else?
So basically, my mail ID is, you can reach me at summer@o1x.com. You can also ping me on the LinkedIn page I have. So yeah, that's where you can reach me, and feel free to connect if anybody wants.
Okay, and besides that, they can always reach out to us on to you on VCTV. So that
Yes.
brings us to the end of the panel. Thank you so much for your time and participation. I'm going to have you back on another session. Till then, keep watching VCTV and take care of yourself. See
And
you.
we all
Take
know,
care.
and we all know where to reach Sonny, La Token, VCTV, Facebook, and your new clubhouse thing that you are doing. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, we are working on Clubhouse. It's going to be exciting.
All
So
good,
yeah,
all
guys,
good.
you can reach me everywhere social media. Happy to help. All right.
It's working. You
Thank
guys have
you.
a good week ahead. Thank you. See you soon. Bye bye.
You guys. Take care. Bye
Bye,
bye.
guys.